Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our class in ALS. Starting from this point onwards, our class will be on video presentations and PowerPoint as well. If you wish to have other if you have other suggestions that we can do as well, just message me privately or in ALS Negor. Now, um, after this lesson, we will be having a test which you will also be submitting to me on the page or privately as well. So let's start. As you can see from here, we have different posters of movie, The Black Panther, the theatrical play Noli Me Tangere, and the book of Florante and Laura by Balagtas. The thing that you can see about these things are these movies, theatrical productions, and books are pretty long. It's too time consuming if you want to read about it. If you wanna look and see the movie, it's gonna take you for more than an hour or more than 2 hours in consumption. What's so good about the English language and language in general is that you can shorten this one by means of a literary technique known as summarizing. It's making short work of anything that is too long for you to read. Most people use summarizing by looking at it and then just look at the points necessary to find the most important details, and that is where our lesson is going to be. Since some of you may not be able to see these movies, it's quite useful to just look at their summaries. Here's another sample of a summary. This one is a summary of Titanic. The movie Titanic takes more than 2 hours for you to see. However, you can just look at the summary and find out the whole plot of the story. And here's its summary. After winning a trip on the RMS Titanic during a dockside card game, American Jack Dawson spots the society girl Rose DeWitt Bukater, who is on her way to Philadelphia to marry her rich snob fiancé, Saladin Hockley. Rose feels helplessly trapped by her situation and makes her way to the aft deck and thinks of suicide until she is rescued by Jack. Cal is therefore obliged to invite Jack to dine at their first class table, where he suffers through the slights of his snobbish hosts. In return, he spirits Rose off to third class for an evening of dancing, giving her the time of her life. Deciding to forsake her intended future altogether, Rose asks Jack, who has made his living making sketches on the streets of Paris, to draw her in the nude, wearing the invaluable blue diamond Cal has given her. Cal finds out and has Jack locked away. Soon afterwards, Cal finds Soon afterwards, the ship hits an iceberg and Rose must find Jack, while both must run from Cal, even as the ship sinks deeper into the freezing water. That took almost like 5 minutes to read, instead of watching the whole movie for 2 hours. Unless you're a big Jack and Rose fan, that would be great as well. However, our lesson for today focuses on how to shorten things which are too long. This is known as summarizing. Our lesson is in LS1 communication skills, and its competency is summarize narrative texts based on elements. Our objectives is distinguish the difference between summarizing and paraphrasing, write a summary on a narrative text, and select points in the story that is necessary to be included in a summary. So, what is summarizing exactly? A summary is a synthesis of the key ideas of a piece of writing, restated in your own words. Example, paraphrased. But later on, we will later see what's the difference of summarizing and paraphrasing, or are they both the same things, or there might be some slight differences. You may write a summary as a standalone assignment or as part of a longer paper. Whenever you summarize, you must be careful not to copy the exact wording of the original source. A summary can be completed in writing, but also orally, dramatically, artistically, visually, physically, or musically, which means you're not just summarizing written works. You can also summarize musical works. You can also summarize movies, such as the one that you just saw. You can also summarize other things, news reports, reports in science or in mathematics, as long as all the important points are being considered as well. Now, when do you summarize? You summarize as a standalone assignment to show you've understood the material. You also summarize to keep notes that will help you remember what you've read. Also, it helps to summarize so that you can give an overview of other researchers' work in a literature review. It's pretty helpful. When you summarize things, it makes it easier for you to remember things, especially when you're in a hurry or you were told to make a report about it but not of the whole thing. These are the steps of making a summary. Summarizing requires for you to do these steps as well. However, your summary should be on paragraph form already and should not contain step 1, step 2, step 3. It must of sentence form and paragraph form as well. However, for you to be able to effectively summarize everything, here are the steps. Step 1, read the text. You should read the article more than once to make sure you've thoroughly understood it. It's often effective to read in 3 stages. First one is to scan. It's not the digital scan that we're talking about here. Scan the article quickly to get a sense of its topic and overall shape. And then, read the article carefully, highlighting important points and taking note as you read. And then, you skim. You skim the article again to confirm you've understood the key points and reread any particularly important or difficult passages. Scanning is reading a text quickly. You're looking at it at a single glance in order to find specific information such as figures, names, probably different acronyms or numbers or anything important within the text. Skimming, on the other hand, is meant to look for the main or general ideas in a text without going into detailed and exhaustive reading. In skimming, a reader reads only important information but not everything. So what's the difference of these two? Scanning is just looking for a little bit of information. Skimming is looking for a large chunk of information or a large part of the text without going through everything. So that's the difference of those two. So when you look at a news report, usually you go over the numbers, how many are positive, how many are negative. That's scanning. In skimming, for example, you can just skim over which places have the highest positive cases. What's the new ordinance that they're implementing? Are they on MGCQ, ECQ, or anything of the sort? So that's skimming. Step 2, break the text down into sections. This is very important. To make the text more manageable and understand its subpoints, break it down into smaller parts. It means that you need to find which part is the first scene of the movie, the second scene of the movie, the third scene of the movie, or maybe the part where it's more focused in a narrative text, or the story that focuses the first part of the story where the hare and the turtle are just talking to themselves who's better, and then the turtle challenges the hare into a race, and then at the last part where the hare takes a break out of confidence but is overtaken by the perseverance of the turtle. So those are sections. If the text is a scientific paper that follows a standard empirical structure, it is probably already organized into clear marked sections such as bulleted points. That could also be important as well, usually including an introduction, methods, results, and discussion. Other types of articles may not be explicitly divided into sections, but most articles and essays will be structured around a series of sub-points or themes. An example of that one is the book, the Bible, where we will see Psalms chapter 1. Let me read. Psalms chapter 1. Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Not so the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind blows away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked leads to destruction. Now, all we have to do is find we need to scan first and skim. First, we need to scan which are the most important words around here. Those important words are blessed. Another thing is the name of the Lord. There's also, most of the time, it mentions wicked. It also mentions the word righteous, and also destruction. However, if you skim on it, you might be able to see which parts is the first part, the second part, and the conclusion. This right here, the chapter verse 1 up to 3 is actually the first section of the whole chapter, and then verse 4 and 5 is the second section of the chapter, and then verse 6 concludes the whole chapter in itself. So it's easier to make a summary by dividing it into sections, and then by writing your summary you can just describe what verse 1, 2, and 3 is all about, and then your second section or your second paragraph or sentence could also focus on verse 4 and 5, and then in its conclusion is your analysis or your interpretation of verse 6. In short, you can just divide it into 3 sections. First section is verse 1 to 3. Second section is verse 4 to 5, and then the last is the conclusion, which is verse 6. But you must remember, you must not write section 1, 2, 3 when you're making your summary. You still need to write it in sentence form, not on bullet points, okay? I will just show you later how to write it properly. Step 3. Identify the key points in each section. Now it's time to go through each part and pick out its most important points. What does your reader need to know to understand the overall argument or conclusion of the article? It's the same as when you watch the movie and then tell the whole movie to a friend that didn't see the movie. Well, technically it's spoiling, but since they won't be able to see the movie, if they won't be able to see the movie, it's also better if you just give them the whole summary of the movie. And that is why you can easily make a summary of the movie, because you can divide the whole movie into sections, such as when the Avengers look for the stones. In the middle, the second section is all about the sacrifices they make when they get the stones, and then the third part will be the big battle when they face the villain, and then the fourth part will be the greatest or the ultimate sacrifice, so that they can defeat their enemies. It's all about sacrifice, and then you can find which sections are important. So you can see that even a 2-hour movie can be summarized by a one paragraph, even a sentence full of summary. Keep in mind that summary does not involve paraphrasing every single paragraph. This is what I said earlier of the article. Your goal is to extract the essential points, leaving out anything that can be considered background information or supplementary detail. What you do in summarizing is that you take out the other unnecessary things in the thing that you are summarizing, and just include in your summary the important things that a reader or the teachers want to know from your summary. An example is this. This is a newsletter from Frankel E.G., published 2008 on May. It's entitled Change in Education, the Cost of Sacrificing Fundamentals. I will read. America has changed dramatically during recent years. Not only has the number of graduates in traditional engineering disciplines such as mechanical, civil, electrical, chemical, and aeronautical engineering declined, but in most of the premier American universities, engineering curricula now concentrate on and encourage largely the study of engineering science. As a result, there are declining offerings in engineering subjects dealing with infrastructure, the environment, and related issues, and greater concentration on high technology subjects, largely supporting increasingly complex scientific developments. While the latter is important, it should not be at the expense of more traditional engineering. Rapidly developing economies such as China and India, as well as other industrial countries in Europe and Asia, continue to encourage and advance the teaching of engineering. Both China and India respectively graduate 6 and 8 times as many traditional engineers as does the United States. Other industrial countries, at minimum, maintain their output, while America suffers an increasingly serious decline in the number of engineering graduates and a lack of well-educated engineers. Some of you may feel baffled as to what this is all about, and so that's why we have summarizing. In a 2008 faculty newsletter article, Change in Education, the Cost of Sacrificing Fundamentals, MIT Professor Emeritus Ernst G. Frankel expresses his concerns regarding the current state of American engineering education. He notes that the number of students focusing on traditional areas of engineering has decreased, while the number interested in the high technology end of the field has increased. Frankel points out that other industrial nations produced far more traditionally trained engineers than we do, and believes that we have fallen seriously behind. So it's easy to find out the real meat of the story by looking at the summary. However, summaries are only as effective if you have read the whole article, which means you are required to read the whole story or article for you to effectively create the summary. And then step 4, write the summary. This is the thing. Now that you know the key points that the article aims to communicate, you need to put them in your own words. Own words. Which is why you must avoid plagiarism and show you've understood the article. Plagiarism is taking other people's work and then naming it after your own. Plagiarism usually happens when you copy a summary from the internet and just paste it on your own paper. If you send it to me, I will search it in Google and find out if you just copied it from another source. I will know. Do not copy and paste parts of the article, not even just a sentence or two. You must find your own way to write and summarize the article, whether it's in broken English, as long as you have it on your own words. But it would be better if it is properly constructed. The best way to do this is to put the article aside and write out your own understanding of the author's key points. It also means that you must not copy whatever is in the story or the article and then just put it on your paper. You need to read it, understand it, and then write it in your own words in a shortened manner. Alright? A paraphrase is about the same length as the original source, and this is the difference between summarizing and paraphrasing. When you paraphrase, you're only changing each word of the sentence into another word that is synonymous to it. And it's not summarizing because you're not shortening it. Paraphrasing may even lengthen or make the whole story even longer, while a summary is much shorter. Nevertheless, when you summarize, you must be careful not to copy the exact wording of the original source. Follow the same rules as you would for paraphrase. What it says is that when you paraphrase, you look onto the words and understand it, and then find out other words that are synonymous to it. It's the same as that one. However, when you summarize, you use other words that closely relates or closely looks like that one. However, it should be shorter. The contents of your summary should be about what the original's article or story is all about. So you still need to understand the whole story and then shorten it in a manner that can be understood clearly by everyone. Now, your task will be to read the story My Father Goes to Court by Carlos Bulusan, and then write a summary of the story in at least one paragraph. What it means is that I must see at least one paragraph of summary. Additional points will be given if you can submit to me more than one paragraph. And then more points will be given if you can submit a picture that best illustrates the whole story. You can find this in Google. You can even draw on your own. That would be better. I will be placing this in your portfolio, which will also be used as a criteria in your final exam. Alright? We may not be able to know whether there will be an accreditation and equivalency test. So any output that you will be giving to me will be recorded, will be printed, and will be put in a folder which will be your portfolio, and then we will take that into account, count it by points, and then if you reach the prescribed point that is required, then you will pass ALS. Understand? If you have other questions, just message me directly. I will also be posting the story of My Father Goes to Court when I send you the video of this one. Thank you and God bless.